The air in Savannah's old textile district was thick with the scent of ink, coffee, and ambition. In a cramped loft studio, where sunlight barely slipped through the cracked skylight, two sisters, Lila Harper, 27, and her older sister, Scarlett Monroe, 30, once sat elbow to elbow, sketching dreams onto paper. Their pencils danced in sync, scratching out designs for dresses that could stop a room cold. Lila, with her sharp hazel eyes and steady hands, poured her soul into every curve of a neckline, every drape of silk. Scarlett, all fire and flash, thrived on the chaos of creation, her bold strokes screaming for attention. Together, they were unstoppable, a duo destined to carve their names into the fashion world. They'd laugh over fabric swatches, bicker about color palettes, and stay up until dawn, fueled by cheap wine and the promise of runways. That was before everything changed. Before their mother's death shattered their world. Before Scarlett became America's darling, and Lila became a shadow. It was 2025, and Savannah's fashion scene pulsed with hunger. The city's historic charm, cobblestone streets, moss-draped oaks, hid a cutthroat underbelly where designers clawed for relevance. Lila stepped out of a creaky elevator into a rooftop gala, the kind where string lights twinkled like stars and champagne flutes clinked with secrets. She wore a borrowed black dress, simple but elegant, courtesy of her friend Nora, who'd whispered, "Don't let her chew you up tonight." Lila's heart thumped as she scanned the crowd. The air reeked of designer cologne and raw ambition. And there, holding court by a marble bar, was Scarlett, radiant in a crimson gown that hugged her like a second skin. Her laugh slicing through the chatter. Photographers orbited her, lenses flashing, as if she were the sun and everyone else just dust. Lila clutched her purse, trying to blend into the edges of the scene. She wasn't here to shine, just to survive. But Scarlett's eyes found her, sharp and gleaming, like a predator spotting prey. With a smile that could cut glass, Scarlett glided over, her heels clicking like a metronome. "Still playing dress up, little sis?" she purred, loud enough for heads to turn. A few guests smirked, their gazes flicking to Lila's borrowed dress. Lila's cheeks burned, but she forced a tight smile. Saying nothing, Scarlett raised her glass, her voice dripping with mock pity. "Some people are born for the spotlight. Others? They're better off in the dark." The crowd chuckled, a low, cruel hum that made Lila feel like she was dissolving. She stood frozen, nails digging into her palms, as Scarlett turned back to her admirers, leaving Lila to vanish into the night's haze. Once, things were different. 5 years ago, Lila and Scarlett shared a rickety table in their mother's attic. Sketching side by side, they'd trade ideas, steal each other's pencils, and dream of owning a label together. Their mother, a seamstress with hands that could weave magic from thread, would watch them, her laughter warm as summer rain. But when cancer took her, it left a void neither sister could fill. Scarlett channeled her grief into ambition, landing a contract with a major fashion house. Her face splashed across billboards, her name whispered in elite circles. Lila, quieter, kept designing in the shadows, her work meticulous but unseen. The world crowned Scarlett a star, while Lila faded into the background, her dreams tucked away like unfinished sketches. The betrayal came softly, like a whisper you don't hear until it's too late. A week before the gala, Scarlett texted Lila, casual as ever, "Hey, can I borrow your studio key? Need to grab some fabric." Lila, trusting her sister despite the growing distance, handed over the key without a second thought. She didn't think twice about the half-finished design for the Southern-style showcase. Left sprawled across her drafting table, her ticket to a stage she'd never touched. It was a gown, soft ivory with hand-beaded details, a piece that felt like her soul in fabric form. She assumed Scarlett, her sister, her blood, would respect the unspoken boundaries between them. She was wrong. At the Southern-style showcase, the truth hit like a blade. Scarlett, poised under blazing lights, unveiled her design, a gown that was Lila's, down to the last stitch. The crowd roared, critics scribbled, and Scarlett soaked it all in, her smile flawless. Lila, meanwhile, checked the showcase portal from her studio, Her name mysteriously gone from the lineup. She called the organizers, her voice shaking. There's been a conflict of originality. A board assistant said, your submission's on hold. Lila's chest tightened. She stood amid her sketches, her dreams, feeling like a ghost in her own life. The room, once a sanctuary, now felt violated, as if someone had walked through and taken its heartbeat. That night, back in her studio, Lila noticed the details no one else would. The desk was off by an inch. A pen was misplaced. A fabric bin was slightly ajar. Small things, but to someone who'd spent years being overlooked, they screamed intrusion. Her pulse raced as she scanned the room, her safe space now tainted. Then came the shove under the door, a yellow envelope. No name, no address. Inside, a single sheet with 6 words. Walk away quietly. You won't win. Below it, a photocopy of her design. Her watermark erased. Her initials gone. Lila's hands trembled as she smoothed the crumpled paper. It wasn't just a theft. It was a declaration of war. She sat on the studio's worn couch, still in her gala dress, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun shadows across the walls. Sleep didn't come. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. Truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be seen. Lila didn't know how, but she felt it, a spark. Not of anger, but of resolve. She opened her laptop, checking her cloud drive. Her original files were there. Time-stamped, untouched. Proof she hadn't imagined it. Proof she wasn't invisible. Unknown to Lila, someone else was watching. Across town, in a sleek loft filled with camera gear, Ethan, Scarlett's boyfriend and a freelance videographer, sat at his desk. He'd seen Scarlett's triumph at the showcase, but something gnawed at him. On a whim, he opened their shared cloud account, where Scarlett synced everything. There, buried in a folder, was a photo of Lila's sketch, taken in her studio, time-stamped weeks ago. Ethan's jaw tightened. He saved the file to his drive, deleted the sync, and sent it to Lila from a burner email. You didn't imagine it. You were right. He didn't sign it, but the truth was already in motion. Lila's phone pinged as she brushed her teeth. The subject line stopping her cold. Anonymous submission for your protection. She opened it, heart pounding, and saw her sketch, metadata intact. For the first time that night, she smiled, a small, fierce thing. Scarlett had taken the stage. The applause, the glory, but Lila had something Scarlett didn't, the truth. And in the quiet of her studio, with the city humming outside, Lila knew this was only the beginning. She wasn't just fighting for a design. She was fighting for her name, her voice, her place in a world that had tried to erase her. The spotlight might belong to Scarlett for now, but Lila was done standing in the dark. The Savannah night was heavy with humidity, the kind that clung to your skin like regret. Lila Harper, 27, sat alone in her studio, the glow of her laptop casting sharp shadows across her face. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling not with fear but with purpose. She'd been betrayed. Her sister Scarlett Monroe, 30, had stolen her design, claimed it as her own, and erased Lila from the Southern Style Showcase. But Lila wasn't invisible anymore. She had proof, and she was ready to fight. The truth, her mother used to say, was a quiet blade, sharp enough to cut through lies. Tonight, Lila was sharpening that blade. Her studio, once a sanctuary, now felt like a crime scene. She'd noticed the signs, her desk slightly askew, a pen out of place, a fabric bin left unsealed. Small details, but they screamed violation. Then came the yellow envelope, shoved under her door like a coward's dare. Walk away quietly. You won't win. Inside was her stolen sketch, her watermark erased. It was a threat, but it was also a mistake. Whoever sent it didn't know Lila had backups, timestamped files, email threads, and a gut that refused to quit. Then, an anonymous email arrived, likely from Ethan, Scarlett's boyfriend, with a photo of her original design. Metadata intact. It was the spark Lila needed. Lila spent hours compiling evidence, her focus razor sharp. She pulled her original sketch files from her cloud drive, each one dated weeks before Scarlett's debut. She accessed the studio's security logs, confirming Scarlett's late-night visit with the key Lila had trusted her with. The final piece came from a backdoor server Nora, her mentor, had tipped her off about, a grainy security video. Lila watched, heart-pounding, as Scarlett slipped into the studio. Her phone's flash illuminating Lila's sketch. She snapped photos methodically, zooming in on every detail, the beaded hem, the asymmetrical neckline, Lila's initials in the corner. Scarlett's face was blank, unapologetic, as she looked up at the camera before leaving. It wasn't just theft, it was a betrayal carved in pixels. Nora, a seasoned designer with a voice like bourbon and a spine of steel, became Lila's anchor. This isn't just about a dress, Nora said, her eyes fierce. It's about your name. She arranged a closed-door meeting with the Southern Fashion Council, invoking Article 7, an ethics review reserved for the worst offenses. Lila walked into the council's archive room, a hidden chamber behind a false panel, clutching a folder thick with evidence. The board, a mix of old money designers and sharp-eyed judges, sat stone-faced. The chair, a woman with silver hair and a voice like frost, called the session irregular. Nora didn't blink. So is stealing. She shot back. The monitor flickered to life, and the security footage played. The room fell silent, save for the soft hum of the screen. Scarlett's figure moved with chilling precision, her phone capturing Lila's work. Gasps broke the quiet, a whisper of, "Oh my God." A hand covering a mouth. Nora laid out the sketches side by side. Lila's original, time-stamped, and Scarlett's submission, identical down to the thread count. The head judge, a woman Lila once interned for, adjusted her glasses and stared. "This isn't misconduct," she said, voice low but firm. "It's theft." Lila exhaled, the weight in her chest loosening. When Nora asked if she wanted to speak, Lila stood, her voice steady. "I don't want revenge. I just want to create without being erased." The board nodded, some scribbling, others avoiding her gaze. Lila walked out, the click of the door behind her louder than any applause. Scarlett's downfall was swift and brutal. She booked a press brunch at a boutique hotel, a desperate bid to spin the narrative. Dressed in beige, a stylist's attempt at humility, she stood before croissants and crystal pitchers, her voice trembling just enough to seem sincere. "I've always celebrated creativity, even in my family," she began, "but things have been twisted." The reporters weren't buying it. A woman in the back fired first. "Sources confirm your design's metadata matches your sister's files." "Care to explain?" Scarlett's smile faltered. Another voice cut in. "Is it true security footage shows you in Lila's studio at night?" Scarlett stammered. That was out of context. A third question, about the council's review, went unanswered. She fled the podium, her assistants scrambling behind her. By noon, #Sketchgate was trending nationwide. Social media erupted, comments slicing like knives. "Stealing from your own sister? Low. If your talent's real, why cheat?" Brands moved fast. Lamrose, Scarlett's biggest collaborator, posted, "We stand for authenticity. Our partnership with Scarlett Monroe is terminated." Others followed, scrubbing her from campaigns, websites, and event posters. Her interviews were cancelled. Her photos vanished. Scarlett wasn't just cancelled, she was obliterated. Her empire of lies crumbling in real time. Lila, meanwhile, rebuilt. She leased a storefront in Savannah's historic district, painting the sign herself, "Lila Harper Originals." The boutique was small but hers. Shelves lined with fabrics she'd chosen with care. Her designs, clean lines, quiet elegance, drew a modest crowd. A librarian, an art teacher, a teen who called her work genius. Lila smiled, feeling seen for the first time. Then came the Reddit post. An anonymous assistant, likely Scarlett's former aide, spilled everything in an AMA titled "I was her assistant." Here's the truth. Screenshots flooded the thread, emails instructing the assistant to rename Lila's files, stripping her initials. The caption was blunt, "I didn't want to do it, but it was my job." The internet roared, hashtags multiplying, blogs dissecting every frame of the security footage. Lila read it all from her shop, sipping cold coffee, a quiet satisfaction settling in her bones. One evening, as Lila restocked scarves, she found a yellowed envelope tucked under a bolt of fabric. Inside was a letter from her mother. Written years ago in flowing cursive, "You don't need to scream to be heard. Build what lasts, and it'll speak for you. Love, Mom." Lila framed it, setting it by the register, not for show, but for herself. It was a reminder of who she'd always been. Scarlett's final plea came unannounced. She appeared at Lila's shop. No makeup, no heels, just jeans and a cardigan that hung loose on her frame. Her eyes were hollow, her voice soft. "I lost everything," she said. "The contracts, the invites. Ethan left me. I need help. Lila, a job, anything." Lila set down her paintbrush. Her gaze steady. "You didn't just mess up, Scarlett. You burned me down and expected me to rebuild you." Scarlett's face tightened. "I'm your sister." Lila shook her head. "You've used that word like a weapon. It doesn't mean what it used to." Scarlett begged. But Lila stood firm. "I'm not your safety net. You made your choices." Scarlett walked away, her shadow shrinking with each step. No fight left. Days later, a plain envelope arrived at the shop. Inside, a rushed note. "I lost myself chasing what wasn't mine. Letting go was all I had left." No signature. But Lila knew. She tucked it away, unmoved, and kept working. Her boutique thrived, not with fanfare but with quiet loyalty. An email from the council reinstated her showcase credit. Her design plastered on their flyer with her name in bold. Another invited her to keynote a design summit. Lila didn't rush to reply. She opened a new sketchbook instead, titling her next collection Silent Forms, Raw, Honest, Hers. Lila's story isn't about revenge. It's about truth, the kind that doesn't need a megaphone. She learned silence isn't weakness. It's the strength to keep going when the world tries to drown you out. Betrayed by her sister, erased by ambition, she fought not for applause but for her name. And she won. So, if you've ever been pushed aside, betrayed by someone you loved, know this: your light doesn't dim because someone else can't handle it. Keep building, keep standing, and the truth will find its echo. Lila did. And now, the world sees her, not as a shadow, but as a flame.